need to tone down this rhetoric. Those of us in leadership positions need to be looking for things that we can take out of this situation that will be helpful, not things that inflame the situation. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't look carefully at all of our laws. We shouldn't look carefully at this verdict and at this outcome. Make sure that everything has been done correctly, the I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed. But let's tone down the rhetoric and recognize that we, the people, are not each other's enemies.
But Dr. Carson, I mean, really, to be clear, there are deep systemic problems that really impact African Americans in the system that have to be addressed, and I think the President spoke to some of those, and so we can't ignore that. And I mean, I'm going to acknowledge, just like anyone else, that everything is not about race, but there are some things that are, and we have to acknowledge those, and we have to make the systemic changes that are important to advance all of our communities so that people really can enjoy those things and the benefits, frankly, that Dr. Carson has enjoyed.
All right, but let's talk about another aspect of this, a systemic aspect of that. The President talked very briefly in his extended remarks about black-on-black crime, and as I looked into this, the numbers are just staggering. Let's put them up on the screen. African Americans make up 13% rather, of the population. But between 1976 and 2005, they committed more than half of all the murders in the U.S. And 93% of black murder victims are killed by blacks. Congresswoman Edwards, should the African American community be focusing on that, the black-on-black crime, the carnage in our inner cities, and not on George Zimmerman?
Well, let me tell you, to be clear, when we're focused on addressing issues of poverty, when we're focused on improving our education system, when we're focused on changing gun laws because there's such a rampant availability of guns in our inner cities, and we have no inner city agenda in this country, that's focusing on those statistics that you just talked about.
But when you have people demanding, let's go after George Zimmerman, let's hate crimes, economic boycotts of Florida, that isn't talking about the real problems in the inner city.
Well, I'm just going to say to you, because there have been some calls for those kind of actions, it doesn't mean we're not, sort of one-trick ponies. We're able to focus on a range of different things. And if you just look, even in this last 2 weeks in the Congress, the debate in the Congress has been about things like, do we provide for food and nutrition? Do we address issues of poverty? Are we going to make sure we have an education system that works for all of our young people so that they can succeed? And to the President's call, are we going to address the laws that actually contribute to the problems in our cities?
Let me bring Dr. Carson into this. I understand the concern with racial profiling, but is that the real threat to young black men?
I don't think it is. Obviously, I grew up in the inner city and had an opportunity to experience a lot of the problems that were there. And many of those problems are a result of the environment in which people grow up in and the philosophies that people develop. For instance, in the inner city community, if it's late at night and you're walking along and somebody starts following you, that's a serious issue. You know that immediately, and you go into a fight or flight mentality. That may not happen, walking in a gated community in, Palm Springs.
Dr. Carson,
it depends a lot.
My son and young men tell me all the time
excuse me, if I could finish, I would appreciate that. May I finish my comment and then?
Well, I just want to say, Dr. Carson, you really cannot ignore the fact that our young black men, in fact, are profiled. I have a young man who works for me. He's a college graduate. 3 times in this last month, he's been stopped by law enforcement going to work.
Okay, let me give,
this
because
is
we're about
reality,
to run out of time.
Chris.
Let's give Dr. Carson the final word. And I guess the key point is George Zimmerman a diversion from the real issue facing the real threat facing young African-American men?
Right. Now, what I was trying to get across is that when you grow up in that environment, you develop a different type of philosophy. And in fact, Trayvon Martin may well have had that philosophy and went into this fight or flight mode. So we can't necessarily say that he's evil or horrible more so than anybody else when you grow up with that particular type of mentality. But again, I want to come back to what I was saying before. So often we take any kind of situation that occurs today in America and we get on the different sides of it and we hurl hand grenades at each other rather than engaging in intelligent discussion. This is what we need to do. Do we have a perfect system? Absolutely not. Does everybody think about things the right way? Absolutely not. But we're never going to get there if we continue to make ourselves into enemies.
All right.